The judicial branch is responsible for interpreting the law and ensuring that it is applied fairly and consistently. It is made up of a system of federal courts, most notably the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the country. It currently has 9 justices, 1 Chief Justice, and 8 Associate Justices. Federal judges are nominated by the President and confirmed by the Senate, and once appointed, they serve life terms. Here are the current judges. Chief Justice is John G. Roberts Jr. The 8 Associate Justices are Clarence Thomas, Samuel A. Alito Jr., Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, Neil M. Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. Below the Supreme Court are the U.S. Courts of Appeals and federal district courts, along with other specialized courts. Side note, when you hear a headline that a federal judge has blocked a law or an executive order, it's usually referring to a district court or appeals court judge. These lower courts are often the first ones to hear cases, and the decisions can be appealed up all the way to the Supreme Court. Anyways, back to the main point. At its core, the judicial, beside it being a really hard word for me to say, the judicial branch does not make laws or enforce them. Instead, it interprets the Constitution and determines whether laws or government actions are legal. And today, we're focusing on one key area where this plays out in real time: voting rights and redistricting. These decisions directly shape political representation, or simply put, how communities are represented. But before we get into that, welcome to Ayada's Corner, where diaspora women and new Americans shape the future. We're here to inform, inspire, equip you to lead, engage, and transform with your community. More specifically, welcome back to Ayada for Civic Change on Ayada's Corner. This series focuses on the basics of government and how they connect to current events. If you want a breakdown of the legislative and executive branches, those episodes are linked here. Now, back to voting rights. In 1965, the Voting Rights Act was passed to address racial discrimination in voting after decades of barriers like literacy tests and voter intimidation. It significantly expanded voter registration, particularly among Black Americans in the South. But the impact of that law has not stayed fixed. Over time, the courts have played a role in shaping how those protections are applied in practice. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act allows legal challenges to voting practices that discriminate based on race, and it remains the primary tool used today in cases involving redistricting. Recent cases have shown how these interpretations continue to evolve. In Allen versus Milligan, the court ruled that Alabama's congressional map violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act by diluting Black voting power. In contrast, ongoing litigation such as Louisiana versus Callis reflects continued disagreement over how race can be considered when drawing district lines. Taken together, these cases highlight a tension and how Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is applied. In one case, it is used to protect fair representation. In another, the scope of that protection is being challenged. The result is that the same legal standard could lead to different outcomes depending on how it's interpreted in court. In short, court decisions shape how laws are applied moving forward. When the court interprets a law narrowly, it can limit how effective that law is in practice. And when it interprets it more broadly, it can expand protections. And what I mean by that is that depending how it's interpreted, it can influence how policymakers, executive and legislative, feel empowered to do. When protections are weakened, lawmakers can be enabled to pass policies that can disproportionately affect certain groups. When protections are upheld or strengthened, lawmakers can face clearer limits. In this way, judicial decisions help define the boundaries of policy, including who is protected and how those protections are enforced. These decisions matter because district maps influence elections, representation, and political power. When courts rule on these issues, they are shaping how democracy functions in practice. That is how the judicial branch works. It doesn't create policy directly, but its interpretations can have lasting effects on laws, rights, and representation across the country. Want to stay informed? Follow Ayada Leads on our social media networks, sign up for our email list to get updates on events and resources, and if you can, please donate to support our work. Together we're building power and shaping the future. Ayada, out.